Hey everyone, and welcome to the Mark Prater podcast, where our aim is to connect our global family of Sovereign Grace churches with our executive director. Mark, anyone who knows what's going on in Sovereign Grace over the past few years knows that there is this expanding global partnerships that are happening wonderfully all over the place, really. And one of the things I think that is very healthy and God glorifying is the way that this isn't just, hey, we're happy to be connected to some other countries and regions, and we're seeing about, what partnership looks like. There's actually a lot of work being done. There's a lot of give and take. There's guys in the States and vice versa, back and forth, seeking to serve others. There's partnership in the way that we're growing together globally. And you wanted to give us an update about some strategic trips that are coming up in order to serve that expanding and growing global partnership.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention a few of the trips that are very, very important, as you said, to building a partnership globally and to continue to do that with our relational value of building relationally. And so I just want to
Yeah.
mention three trips. I could mention more, but just three. One that just ended, Marty Machowski, who is the executive pastor at Covenant Fellowship Church, where I'm a pastor, just got back from a 10-day trip in Seoul, South Korea. He was there January 10th through the 20th, serving the Sovereign Grace Partner Church there, Lord's Grace Church, led by Sungwon Kang.
Hmm.
And Marty is just worked really hard. He told me before he left, he was teaching like, I don't know, 16, 17 times on that
Wow.
10-day trip.
My
So
goodness.
when Sungwon invites you, you work really hard because he
Clearly.
just maximizes the time because
Good
he
for him.
loves his church. And really the
Mhm.
sort of the theme of many of the of what Marty was asked to do was the Spirit's work in the family home,
Mm.
which is just a wonderful topic and one that
Yeah.
I'm sure Marty just did a great job with. And that strengthens partnership in Sovereign Grace because in Seoul, South Korea, they're the only Sovereign Grace church. And so
Mm.
when Marty goes, and I think this is his third or fourth trip, that's very meaningful, not only for the pastors, but for the members feeling connected to a Sovereign Grace. And Marty's not the only one that has left. Cornerstone Church in Knoxville has sent teams over there and pastors over there. Walt Alexander from Trinity Grace in Athens, Tennessee, I think it was just there last year, taking a team of folks. So there are other churches participating that really invest into our partnership in South Korea. And one of the things we're praying for and hoping for there is that eventually that church will plant another church in South Korea.
Yes.
But that happens through the support of other churches and pastors in Sovereign Grace. So that's a trip. There's a second trip I wanted to mention. It's actually happening right now this week. We're recording this on Friday, January 24th. But Ed O'Mara, who is the lead pastor of Chiesa Grassa Sovrana in Torino, Italy, a church that he's planting there, and also our area leader in Europe, has traveled down south to Sicily. He's going to Catania, Italy, and he is spending time with Giuseppe, who is the lead pastor, and the other leaders in congregation there. Chiesa Grazia de Verite, and Verite means truth, by the way. And they are continuing to discuss next steps in the pursuit of adoption. So it may be in the coming years that that church is adopted by Sovereign Grace as they work through our adoption process. And when that occurs, if it occurs, that would be our second partner church in Italy.
Wow.
So pray for Ed and pray
Yeah.
that the fruit of that particular trip, Ed's hard work, would really result in a partner church there in Italy. And I believe Rocco Dahlia, the co-pastor, the co-planter, I mean, there in Torino, I believe went with Ed as well. So that's an important trip. And then a third trip I wanted to mention is one that is going to be to Brazil. Bert Turner, who is a pastor at Covenant Grace Church in Akron, Ohio, is also really our leader from the States in Brazil. He's
Mm.
traveling to Brazil February 9th through March 17th. It really is a 5-week trip
Mm.
where he's just going to serve in Brazil. And what's unique about him and his wife Karen is that Bert and Karen, million years ago, were
Yes.
missionaries in Brazil and therefore learned the language, and they still speak fluent Portuguese. which is a real benefit in trying to serve churches in Brazil. And so he is going to work very hard. I think Karen may be going with him on this trip. They're going to be in 9 cities in that period of time, meeting with 12 different pastors. Some of those cities will be in is Rio Grande, Sao Paulo, for example, Porto Alegre are just some of the cities they're going to be in. There are several churches in Brazil that do have interest in being adopted into Sovereign Grace. So Bert is down there trying to help them with that process and assess whether they're compatible theologically and with our values and virtues with Sovereign Grace. So we're very, very grateful for that. And then when he's in Rio Grande, the plan is for him to formally ordain Emerson Soares, who is the senior pastor of Igreja Graça Silverana in Rio Grande. He graduated from the Pastor's College a couple of years ago, is almost completed with, almost finished with the ordination process. And while Bert is there, there'll be March by that point, the first week or two of March. The hope is that Bert will ordain him, and we will have our first ordained Sovereign Grace elder, or maybe the second, second Sovereign Grace elder, because Fabiano was ordained a few years ago, who's in Sao Paulo. But our second Sovereign Grace elder in Brazil, and certainly our first one in Rio Grande, Brazil. So just some things that are happening where guys are working really hard and strengthening our partnership. And just those are strategic trips that help us to, again, partner, build our partnership carefully, thoughtfully, and relationally.
Wonderful to hear. So takeaway, anybody need someone to come to their church and preach 17 times? Marty is your man. Or maybe if you're just in Korea. What a wonderful development to hear about a second church in Italy. After we've been praying for the past few years for the first one, and to hear about a potential second one is thrilling. And I actually got to sit in on Fabiano's ordination in Portuguese as Bert translated. And even with that challenge, that hurdle of the language there, it was one of the most edifying ordination exams I've ever sat in. There was tears in that room as we felt cared for, even in his answers in Portuguese as Bert translated, which is just another really cool expression of how we are growing globally. And when you think about that, and we talk about it a lot, it's a big deal in Sovereign Grace, actually, this expanding global partnership reality. What are your thoughts as we continue to move forward and build relationally in global partnership?
Yeah, well, the first thought that comes to mind is that our global partnership is expanding and being strengthened, not just because of the work of the leadership team, but actually the work of pastors in our churches.
Right.
They are committed to our partnership, and they are taking trips and making sacrifices to strengthen our partnership. And they're doing that eagerly and voluntarily and enthusiastically. Yeah. So I'm very grateful for all the pastors that are doing that. I mentioned, Marty and Ed and Bert, but there's so many more pastors that are doing that in Sovereign Grace. So that's my first thought. Thank you guys for just your heart for our mission and our partnership in Sovereign Grace. The second thought is each of those guys that I just mentioned are coming from churches and pastoral teams who are supporting them in sending them away. They're giving them time away from their responsibility locally. I'm sure they're investing financially. And that there's a cost and a sacrifice to that. So I'm grateful for our churches and pastoral teams that remain in the States. Of course, Ed is in Italy, but remain at home doing pastoral ministry while they send one of their guys out to strengthen partnership. And I'm just grateful for the generosity and heart of our churches as well. And then just the commitment to build relationally. Just as you think about what these guys are doing and how they've scheduled the time and who they're with, it's very intentional to build relationally. Because we want to continue to be a family of churches. We don't want to be a professional denomination. Now, we are a denomination because of our polity, but we don't want to be professionals in that sense. We want to be brothers in Christ. And so I'm very grateful for the intentionality these guys, just time with pastors and wives, long meals with pastors and wives, conversation and laughter and building of friendship. That's the kind of partnership we want to bring. And these men and so many other pastors in Sovereign Grace are doing that well. So those are some quick overview thoughts.
Yes, I mean, you've said it before, and I heartily agree. We just have the finest pastors in Sovereign Grace, and so it is such a joy to see these high quality and qualified men being deployed into global relationships, and actually through that process, we're adding more wonderful pastors and churches into that partnership with Sovereign Grace, and those guys in turn are then interacting internationally with other churches there. It really is a joy to observe and to hear updates about. So thanks for the updates, Mark. We'll be praying for these relationships going forward. Thank you all for checking out the podcast. We'll see you here, Lord willing, next week. Bye for now.
Thank you for watching. If you have questions or comments, Mark would love to hear from you. For more videos like this, hit subscribe on YouTube or by email at markkprater.com.